continuing with what makes a monster 8-inch action figure great. What are we looking for in our monsters, our 8-inch action figures? And, you know, in the first part of our series, we covered some fantastic monsters. We've seen some fantastic monsters from a lot of toy companies that are really doing a fantastic job. And NECA is just absolutely, in my opinion, they're just running away from the competition. They're making it look easy. But because we have so many monsters and there's so many great toy companies out there that's really putting out monster figures, the list seems endless. Now, Figures Toy Company, let's take a look at these guys. Figures Toy Company remade the Mego, the Mad Monster series. And we're looking at our Wolfman right here. Once again, we talk about the Mego charm, because this is all just, the only thing this is a reproduction of the Wolfman, the human Wolfman. It's the human Wolfman because of licensing rights, right? Back in the 70s. This is the same figure from the 1970s. Just reproduced by Figures Toy Company in 2012. My brothers had this figure back in the day. And it's a great figure. It's a great figure. By today's standards of what we've seen from NECA, not so much. But if you're looking for campy, quirky, dime store type of a feel to your monster action figures, the human Wolfman is a fantastic example and just right for you. And because we're a museum, we take all of that really into consideration, you know, because we're collecting history here. And because I'm such a huge fan of anything that's connected to the werewolf or Wolfman, whatever, I love it. So I love this figure. This figure really works for me. A lot of people say that the head sculpt was cheesy. The outfit was cheesy. The glow in the dark hands was cheesy. But it worked for me. It really did. It really worked for me. Moving on, along that same vein, from Figures Toy Company, the Mad Monster series, the Dreadful Dracula. Another clever way that Mego from the 1970s eluded licensing rights and stayed out of the way from getting themselves in trouble. Make a quirky, kind of tacky, goofy looking Dracula and rename him the Dreadful Dracula. As cheesy and as corny as this seems and looks, it works for me. It's the charm. It's that Mego charm. This is a reproduction of the exact figure from the 1970s. And Figures Toy Company just reproduced these figures. It had a huge following because anybody that was born in the 1970s, grew up in the 1970s playing with Mego figures, remember the Mad Monster series. But the question, I guess, guys, is to you, I pose to you, does this figure work for you? And I know some of you guys are going to say, well, it's outdated, horribly outdated, as opposed to what NECA what NECA is really putting out now to that level. It just doesn't work. But it depends. To me, like I said, it really depends on what you're looking for from your monsters. I'm looking for a few things. And yes, I did say detail, quality, and we read some of the comments. And we're going to be getting back in touch with all you guys as far as responding to all the fantastic comments from our first part of our monster series of what we're looking for from our monsters, part 1. But I've read them. I saw them. I just got to respond to them. So we got a lot of great feedback. And I'm hearing a lot of this detail, authenticity, originality. And some people probably will look at this figure and say that this figure absolutely, positively has none of that. True? False? We want your opinion. We want your take. What do you think about the Dreadful Dracula? Do you have this guy in your collection? That's a quick way to really see. Or are you like me, a historian, someone that is connected to the 70s and forever will be connected to the 1970s and finds the charm in this really tacky, goofy, really cheesy figure that glows in the dark. Eyes and hands glow in the dark. So we want to hear your take on it. I'm going to put him down here. Now here's a favorite. Here's another favorite of mine. Let me see if I can get him out of here. The Horrible Mummy. Another fantastic monster that was produced by Mego back in the 1970s. Figures Toy Company reproduced this figure, and I think they did a fantastic job. I personally think that the Horrible Mummy was the best out of all of them. To me, he's not dated, if you will. Which means he's not. He can still hold his own even in 2020. And being a figure that was originally produced by Mego back in the mid to late 1970s, this figure pretty much still can hold its own. I thought the head sculpt was pretty great. The wrapping, albeit a little off with the print on it. Not bad though. Not bad at all. You can see getting a nice close up here of our Horrible Mummy figure. The weathered look on the face, the wrinkles on the face. I think all of that tied in beautifully. Then it has, glow in the dark eyes and hands. This was my favorite, even as a kid growing up. I saw this figure in an old store called Zehrs back in the 1970s, the late 1970s. And I remember putting this, that I got the old story I share with a lot of collectors and my subscribers about this figure. As a kid, 1978, somewhere around there, I saw it was a whole bin of loose Mego figures, monster figures. And I saw this mummy on the top. And what I did was, in my childlike mind, I wanted this figure so desperately, but I knew my parents definitely wasn't gonna buy it for me that day. I took him and I put him as far as I could possibly place him underneath the rest of the action figures, praying and hoping that he would be there by the time we came back to Zehrs, probably the next weekend or so. Well, guys, that never happened. So that's my Horrible Mummy story. No pun intended. But this was a fantastic figure. It still remains one of my favorites from the entire bunch, even to this day. So let's put this guy down. That's the fun part about these monsters. You know, they, like I said, I am a monster fanatic. I think I have one more for you guys. One more from that set. Mad Monster set. The Monster Frankenstein. Uh, what do we want from our monsters? Well, the Monster Frankenstein, this wasn't it. I think this figure missed a lot of angles and points from what it was trying to, I guess, from what Mego was trying to achieve. Figures Toy Company reproduced this figure, but at the end of the day, this is a Mego figure, and I don't know if they got it right. I didn't like him in the 70s. I didn't like this figure in really too much in the 70s. I have him now because I'm a historian, a curator who owns a museum, and there's still history behind this figure. There's still history to be told about this figure. But once again, very basic in design. Really, it lacked, to me, the Monster Frankenstein, this particular figure, really lacked imagination. And that's what toy companies now in 2020 has to be careful of. And Figures Toy Company was just simply giving the public what it wanted by reproducing these more vintage figures now. But companies now have to be very careful of that. This is dime store material right here if I ever saw it. Very basic in design, clothes. Nothing quite went with anything. The outfit, and yet it was a decent figure. Not one of my favorites. Not like the Mummy, but the Mummy's always hard to beat, though. Your thoughts on the Monster Frankenstein? There was a variant to this figure too. I think he had blue hair. We'll leave him down here. Let's put this guy, move this guy out the way. Let's see. Guys, we're just moving right along in our show here. Monsters that weren't really, I believe, considered monsters. And that's what you get with Biff Bang Pow. And this is Scarif. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. So this is one of the bad guys, one of the villains from the Doctor Who series. You know, I'm a Tom Baker Doctor Who fan. That was my doctor for the 1970s. I believe Tom Baker ran the role of Doctor Who from 1974 to 1981, I believe. And to me, he was the best doctor. And I think he also had the longest stint as the doctor. But this Scarif figure is fantastic in design. Everything about him. Sure, he's dressed very well, very dapper, but he was a human before I believe he turned into this creature. Or if I'm mistaken the episode, I believe he was always this, but he took a human form, I should say. But this is how he actually looked. Fantastic head sculpt, design, you name it. Beautifully done. You see how proper he was. You have a pistol here. You would think he'd just be able to destroy somebody with his bare hands, but probably not. But this figure had everything. Great head sculpt, excellent design with clothes, And he's on that Mego body style body, but this is an MC Toy slash Biff Bang Pow offering. Just a great figure. Do you have this figure? That's. Let me know if you got any of these figures, guys. It's always cool to hear that, hear what you have in your collections. It's all about monsters, right? And we can't have a talk about a monster episode or segment without including my buddy, the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot from $6 Million Man. I remember when this figure came out, everybody went crazy trying to get this figure. He was extremely popular out of the entire line. Everybody wanted the Bigfoot. He wasn't quite 8 feet. He was 8 inches. I'm sorry. He was a little bit taller than 8 inches, but I'll include him anyway because he was billed as a 8-inch action figure, but he was a little taller than that. His ankles were extended. Real fur. Includes an exclusive keychain that plays the bionic sounds. I thought his bionics sound a lot more scarier and cooler at the same time, if that makes any sense. So this figure had it all, from the head sculpt, the design of his outfit, using that real type fur, as opposed to the 14-inch or 13-inch figure that we had in the 1970s from the $6 Million Man Bigfoot. He was just all plastic. So it's really cool to see him really produced and manufactured in this way, designed in this way. So he scored a lot of brownie points in that regard. Just a beautiful figure, but you can't have a monster segment without including this guy. And he is one of my favorite monsters in my entire museum. Not just because he's mint on card, and he's quite expensive now too, but because he's so well done. And I think this is the imagination that a lot of toy companies need to really inject, into their production of these figures, the design of their figures. Get with their design teams, come up with stuff like this. Somewhere along the line, some of these companies kind of lost track of that. You're not selling to kids at this point. You're selling to collectors. That's where obviously that's where the money's coming from. Let's give you another Doctor Who figure, Morbius. This is a creature that basically put himself back together after being he started out as a human, but he was vaporized into so many particles. He was able to recreate himself. As you can see the helmet here, the clear helmet. You can see the brain in there. And he's just parts of human and parts of creature, some type of a creature. But Biff Bang Pow did a fantastic job at recreating this character from Doctor Who, really to the best of their ability. They took a chance, and they gambled, and I think they really came up. They really won with this one. I remember the episode with Morbius, and this is almost identical to the character in 8-inch action figure form, which is fantastic. So this is a fun figure. That's another box that's checked with me. It has to be a fun figure. It has to get me excited about collecting it. I could walk by and see this a figure, an action figure in a store, but if it doesn't reach out and grab me and really gets me excited, if it's not fun, I don't know if that makes any sense, but it has to look like it's fun. It has to be different. A lot of those things play into me really wanting to add figures to my museum. Morbius checks all of those boxes because he's so cool in so many aspects. There's so much happening with this action figure. And he's only 8 inches tall. He's not 12 inches tall where you can add more detail. And yet he's got more detail to him, which is fantastic. So I can look at Morbius all day because he's that cool. Well, let's move on because we gotta we'll put Migo in the forefront here now. This is NOSFERTU. The first one they did a glow in the dark NOSFERTU as well. And let's put him up here. But if I had to pick a favorite, as you get your blown out look of both of them, if I had to pick a favorite, I'm gonna go with the original NOSFERTU figure. I think he's just fantastic. Clothes, design, everything. Migo really got it right with this monster. They really got it right with this monster, and they did a fantastic job. Likeness, everything. This is NOSFERTU. Once again, Rachel Baker's fantastic work with the clothing. Just spectacular. The hands, everything. You lose a little bit of that when you try to make this figure glow in the dark because you lose a lot of the detail in the head sculpt. You can't do as much shading and paint applications because you want it. The whole idea is for the figure to glow in the dark. So you lose a lot of that aspect. That's why I like the first one so much better. Those hypnotic, terrifying eyes. You lose that with the glow in the dark one. Just fantastic though. Beautifully done. This checks all of the boxes of being a fantastic and great 8-inch action figure monster. It checks all of my boxes. So I have multiples of these guys because if I like it enough, guys, I'm definitely gonna buy more. And that's the whole purpose of having these figures, for these companies putting these figures out. You want the customer to be satisfied enough to purchase multiples, or if nothing else, to continue to come back with their business for you. And we look at another one from Egolon Chaney in the Phantom of the Opera. Here's one that I'm on the fence about. Did Migo get it right? Guys, we want to know from you in the comment section right underneath this video. Did Migo get it right? Did he get it wrong? Were they kind of off? I've heard a little bit of both sides of that coin. I'm going to say that they did pretty good. They're pretty decent with this one. They did pretty decent. Outfit, everything. The head sculpt, he's tricky because I don't know if they had the licensing rights. They must have. They got Lon Chaney's picture here on the front of the card art, which is fantastic. It's not stock art here on the card. It's real, a real photo of Lon Chaney. I don't know. I need your help on this one, guys. Your thoughts. Take your Phantom of the Opera out of your collection and take a good look at him and tell me in the comment section what made you want to purchase this figure, outside of the fact that he was a monster. We want to hear all that right in the comment section right underneath this video. But he checks a lot of the boxes for me. Design, head sculpt, detail, close enough in likeness. So we want to hear all of that. Here is, let's go to, I gotta hold this guy. My Candyman. Back to NECA. Once again, this is why NECA is really the big dog on the 8-inch action figure block, because they can put stuff out like this. The Candyman, it looks just like the character, looks just like the actor. Tony Todd played the role of Candyman, and you can see a little bit of Tony there. I love this fur coat like that he had in the movie, full length pants and shoes. There's the rib cage, bloody rib cage with the bees in it, the bloody hook for a hand, an extra head sculpt with the bees coming out of it. This figure checks all of the boxes, guys. It just does. No rhyme or reason. This figure has it all. From detail to detail. Fantastic. Let me keep this moving. I got one for you guys. Let's see. I don't want to take him out. Wes Craven's A New Nightmare. My Freddy Krueger figure, which was fantastic. Look at this. The gloved hand. Just like from the movie. Head sculpts are fantastic. This is a collector's grade from Big Bad Toy Store. So that's why he's encased in this plastic right here. Got this plastic on him. I take him out from time to time to look at him. But because I am such a fanatic when it comes to my monsters, I really love my monsters, and I just think they did a fantastic job. Everything from this beautiful, the sweater, iconic sweater, leather pants, and love the boots. And they're like more like talons than razor sharp gloved fingers. Just fantastic. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. There's his hat. Once again, this figure checks all the boxes. All the boxes. Getting ahead of myself, guys. Hold on, I got more fun coming. Here's another one. Gotta hold him though. Another one of my collector grade ones. My Nightbreed, Dr. Decker. This is detail off the charts. Detail, detail, detail. Nightbreed, he comes with a briefcase with all of the weapons here at his disposal. Razors, knives, you name it. Half swords, you name it. The head sculpt is just absolutely fantastic. Outfit, this is how he looked in the movie. This is a clean guy. One of my favorites. But you got to have some of these NECA figures. Get you some NECA figures, guys. If you don't have any, I hope that this video really induces you to want to go out and purchase some of these guys. Yes, these guys are expensive. This is a little more expensive because it's a collector grade, which means the only thing that means is that Big Bad Toy Store, where I ordered it from, made sure that there was no damage to this packaging. I'm an MIB collector. I hate damaged packaging. It drives me insane. So I'm really super, super particular in what I pick and add to my museum when it comes to making sure this, my items are nice and taken care of. Put my Decker figure back in there. All right. Moving along, guys. We're moving along. Here's another NECA figure. Oh, almost had an accident, guys. Sam from the Trick or Treat movie. Looks fantastic in design. Everything. Super fun. There's his Halloween bag. Underneath this burlap mask is a horrific, horrible, terrifying face, but beautifully done head sculpt. Half-eaten sucker. And I believe Sam was a creature, and as the legend tells, he would only punish you or attack you if you were not celebrating Halloween. If you were celebrating Halloween, he wouldn't bother you. But if you didn't celebrate Halloween, that's when you had a problem and you had to deal with Sam. And this is NECA's fantastic work, craftsmanship, everything. Every detail about this figure is fantastic. His outfit, orange outfit, the burlap mask with the button eyes, everything. His burlap trick-or-treat bag, you name it. Sam was the real deal. This is another monster figure that checked all the boxes for me. Let's bring down my Misfit figures. Fantastic figures. NECA got these guys right. Awesome figures. You can't go wrong with these rock band. They're named the Fiends. These monsters are named, the creatures are named the Fiends. The group is named Misfits. But